Hello and welcome to In the Channel from channelbuzz.ca, bringing news and information to the Canadian IT channel community for the last 16 years. I'm Robert Dutt, editor at channelbuzz.ca and your host for the show. Today, we're joined by a man who's effectively the architect of the modern digital Ingram Micro. Sanjib Sahoo is the EVP and president of the global platform group at Ingram Micro and the visionary behind Xvantage. We're coming off a week where Ingram reported record Q2 results, and Sanjib joins me to talk about why AI revenue intelligence is the engine behind those numbers. We dig into the recently launched XI Hub and MCP server, tools that are allowing even the smallest MSPs to connect their own AI assistants directly to Ingram's data mesh. We talk about how this is saving early adopters up to 1,500 hours a year, and why Sanjib thinks the industry is moving from a world of order takers to order makers. Let's get right into it. My chat with Sanjib Sahoo. Sanjib, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
You guys just came off record Q2 results. A big part of that is the idea of what you guys are calling AI revenue intelligence. For the folks on the ground, what does that term actually mean? Is this about Ingram's revenue, partner revenue, or sort of the intelligence sitting between those two fields?
Absolutely. If you look at it, intelligence is the key that connects the life cycle in the channel. And what we have been doing in the last year or couple of years, we have built a functionality with Xvantage, but that is an infrastructure. What we have done is train our intelligence layer. So all the models we have built, more than 400 models, the intelligent integrations that we have built, it all added to that AI layer. And today that AI layer goes out, looks at all the codes, looks at multiple parameters, and then stack ranks opportunities for our sales team to go and outreach our partners. So it's changing a different way of sales motion where we are becoming from order takers to order makers. That is converting at almost 4 times than traditional distribution converted those codes to orders. That's actually has high quality revenue. And most importantly, it is really giving us a way to close our cycles faster. And that is that AI-led revenue, primarily intelligent revenue that we are doing. And now we are doing other work also where that intelligence can actually be extended with other agentic flows. The bottom line is, I said before, intelligence is a new operating system. And we are building Xvantage as the intelligent operating system for B2B. And using intelligence, we are driving revenue growth, and we do that. That's what the number showed in our earnings.
That 4x number is pretty striking. You've been the architect of Xvantage since the beginning. It's been your baby, and it's safe to say, based on what you described and what we've seen, that we've gone from vision well into the momentum phase of things. I guess I'm curious, what's the biggest difference in the conversations you're having with partners around Xvantage, around the role of Ingram in their business today versus, say, even the beginning of the year?
I think understanding of how Xvantage is, I think more and more our partners are understanding this is not another platform or a tool for doing distribution better. This is a way for them to leverage that intelligence that Ingram Micro has, being in business for more than 45 years, investing in the intelligence and the AI through the integration and the software that we build, and really able to help them in a different way. So from partners coming to us and talking about, which we'll talk in a second, about integrating us with MCP in a different way, to really leveraging insights to drive their business, to having strategic vendors that we are talking about combining our intelligence to drive actions. Ultimately, where we want to move, Robert, is the industry is moving away from just selling products to selling outcomes via intelligence. And I think more and more that intelligence is the new relationship and value that we can create. And I think that discussion has changed right now. And more, as we can give better intelligence to our partners for them to grow, the platform is immaterial. The experience is great, but the intelligence is what they need to drive operations. So that's where the interconnect of intelligence and operations is the key.
Acknowledging that there's going to be a range of answers between those who are probably even maybe a little bit ahead of you and those who are, still trying to get their heads around it or understand what it is you're pitching there. I'm curious how, in general, you have found the channel's aptitude, ability. Basically, how is the channel prepared for this move towards intelligence? And what do you think is kind of the biggest opportunity for the average MSP at this moment to jump on, to take advantage of that, to make that part of their business?
I think the channel is changing. And if you look at it, the entire tech ecosystem, before you had the vendors and the OEMs coming to the distributors, going to the resellers and the end customers. Then came the hyperscalers, the AI companies, the chip makers. The linearness is not always there anymore because it's more about solutioning, ecosystem orchestration. But primarily, it's about demand gen, how we can generate demand as a distributor for our vendors and how we can provide growth opportunities for our partners, because it's a win-win, right? And especially not only the big enterprise customers, how we can scale the long tail, the small MSPs, the VARs that we can help. And that requires a lot of automation, not just automation, but a push model with intelligence. So the things that you see in the channel is more about context, intelligence, life cycle, attach, orchestration. Those things have become much more important than just fulfilling a line card. So the way it is changing for our OEMs and the vendors, they need to a more of an intelligence integration to actually drive demand gen, look at long tail and crack those problems. Because everybody's fighting at the top layer, but to bundle solutions to drive outcomes, we need to show up by connecting the intelligence on the vendor side and connecting the intelligence on the partner side. Now, let me ask you a question. What is the operating system you have on your phone? You may not know, right? I mean, you might know iOS or Android, but do you know the exact version of operating system phone? You don't know, right? Does it matter? No, right?
Particularly.
But who is doing the disk cleanup, the CPU optimization, all of that in your laptop or phone is the operating system, right? Without that, nothing works, right? So who is that operating system of this channel who solves all these complexities of SKU ingestion, billing, attaching, reconciliation, and really giving that connection, the connective tissue to our resellers? There needs to be an agnostic operating system. And our platform is that, solving all these problems. And now powered by the intelligence, connecting our vendors and our partners in a different way that they can, have intelligence. And which leads to our announcement recently about MCPs. We had spent too much time about system integration or connecting. Now we are connecting intelligence and combining intelligence. That's the new way that I think this industry can evolve.
Well, let's get into that. You've got recently announced XI Hub as out there and added the MCP server layer. You guys have positioned this as operationalizing AI for the channel. I guess in plain English, how do the two pieces work together to let an MSP connect their own AI, whatever that may look like, to Ingram's data and to form a foundation of that operating system you're describing?
Yeah, absolutely. If I am a small MSP or an SMB, we don't have a lot of IT budget, right? It requires system integration, takes a long time. You need to invest a lot more in AI. But you can quickly today write a quick agent or have your own AI, LLMs that you can do that, right? How do you actually connect that intelligence to an Xvantage or Ingram Micro without going through a massive integration? How do you can combine not just systems, but a partner's intelligence with our intelligence? How do you move from quickly drive business outcomes, not just basic transactional integration? That is MCP. MCP is connecting intelligence to intelligence, agent to agent versus system integration. It bypasses the complexity of system integration and really creates a faster way for them to create value. So if you look at it, our SMB or small size customers are actually leveraging this some more. I recently heard a partner within an hour got connected with MCP and driving tremendous value. This is important because in B2B, integrations are hard. It takes a long time. It takes a long cycle. XI was created with the team, and now everybody has their own agents or their own LLMs or their own, open like Chat GPT or any AI that you use as a small customer. How do you combine that intelligence that you have in their business to actually connect with our business quickly? That's important and grow. Imagine, Robert, data helps you run the business, but intelligence helps you growing the business. Where do you find the next renewal opportunity? Where do you find the next bundle? Imagine if they can get that constant intelligence from us. That's like really the solutioning partner they need. And fulfillment happens as a byproduct, but that's how we want to show up. That is why this MCP integration is really key. And we are doing it with our vendors too, where we are combining intelligence with their intelligence with our intelligence and really driving actions throughout the channel. So this gets to a theme that I want to talk about, that the industry has evolved. We spend too much time about building software and functionality. Software is becoming infrastructure, but software leads to intelligence. And the more software, the better intelligence will be, and intelligence will drive operations, which means humans will make better decisions with intelligence. And then once you learn to scale those operations, that will be agents. That's the new form of how businesses are run. You need to combine intelligence with operations and use agents to scale. That's what we are doing right now to test this out and working with our partners.
You've described MCP as sort of the USB-C for AI. I think you touched on this a little bit earlier in talking about the sort of the need for an agnostic role player in the ecosystem. But why was it important for Ingram to go through MCP, to use an open standard like that, rather than building a walled garden approach to bring partners into using Ingram branded AI tools?
The reason for that is custom approaches takes a long time, right? And this is the fastest way to abstract your systems and have a modern standard of, intelligence to intelligence, AI to AI. And that's much better because you bypass system integration. Now you can have your custom integrations inside if you want, but then still can have the intelligence layer talk to intelligence layer. I think that's much important. Imagine you have a Chat GPT or an OpenAI or a Grok, or you can have your Claude, and you actually connect securely to Ingram Micro's Xvantage and can run your business accordingly. That's amazing. Now, inside, you can still use MCP to connect different systems, but I think bespoke integrations take a longer time, but combining intelligence and then really driving faster is extremely important. And we have architected that way, Robert, because look at ERPs can answer what, they can't answer why. The way we have built our architecture with the real-time data mesh, AI factory, headless engines, it really creates an MCP architecture to work much more faster to actually give the interconnection between our vendors and our partners.
If I'm an MSP and I'm plugging in an AI assistant to my business systems and to your live data, my first thoughts are going to be security and data leakage. How does the XI hub and MCP server context keep that data secure in the family, locked down where it needs to be?
Yeah, we have a lot of work gone through security. Like we also have data segregation, how we expose data, multiple protocols. We don't give the details for obvious reasons, how we do it, but yes, we put a lot of focus on security. And there's also different protocols about read versus write, how we read data, how we write data, how we expose data. But these are a must for actually do. And as you know, we have been very careful in not giving our security details these days, but absolutely there's a lot of focus on security.
You guys have talked about some pretty incredible numbers with early adopters using these tools to save 1,500 hours annually, radically reducing quoting cycles. You touched on that earlier yourself. Can you walk us through sort of the before and after story here? What was a partner doing manually that an MCP connected assistant can do for them now? Sort of the day one story.
So if you look at it, like they can get access to insights, they can actually quote and transact better. They can actually figure out any question they can do. They had to invest in OpEx or partners to actually do these kind of activities, right? So that saves them a lot of hours to run their business. And then what it does is that one part is taking complexity out to run their business, saving the hours. The other part is how can they grow their business with that intelligence? So some of the partners are actually finding opportunities, growing business, driving better business outcomes. They are showing more productivity. They're actually, and as they are growing, we are growing with them. So we see that the XI integrated partners, Robert, are actually doing much more business with us and growing together. They are connecting faster. They are actually, it's a mutually win-win situation we have. So yes, you see the productivity numbers, you see, but it's both. It's both transactional efficiencies that drives their OpEx, savings, and also growth opportunities that saves the time and helps them grow faster. So they grow and we grow.
When it comes to quoting and that sort of thing, how is AI sitting in that right now and reducing the cycle? I'm curious how much of it is, fetching the data faster and putting it together faster versus actively suggesting solution configurations and that sort of thing.
So if you look at it, it's not that the MCP or the AI request is doing the coding. We have worked hard to build custom coding engine in Xvantage as one of the headless engines we have built before, which takes complexity out, creates code faster, does all the vendor integrations from config to order, all complex codes, all of that. What this does is that taking that efficiency and connecting easily through MCP. So MCP is not doing that complex work. MCP is just giving you the data from that engine. So our engine that we have built all these years for Xvantage to do complex coding integrations, that is now exposed by MCP. So it's a win-win, right? Because the MCP request cannot do all the complications and integration. We have done that part, the expose. So what it does is that now complex code can have been done in minutes and seconds versus days. So that complexity is solved by the Xvantage infrastructure and the software that we have built. Now you're taking advantage of it by connecting that with the MCP layer. That's the difference.
Now that XI Hub and the MCP server have been out there in the wild and folks are getting to use them, saving some time, beyond sort of those time savings that you mentioned, what's been the most unexpected or novel way that you've seen a partner use XI Hub or the MCP instance? Something that wasn't on the original roadmap, but is adding a lot of value for that particular partner.
I think I would say that the segment of the partners who are actually using MCP and Hub surprised me. I thought initially the big customers or the mid-market will do a lot. I'm seeing a lot of traction with MCP on the small and long-tail customers, which is now it makes sense as I think through it. It surprised me because they're quickly connecting their AI to ours and then ability to get much more value versus a lot because they don't have the budget to invest in IT and doing that. So they are connecting to MCP. They are looking at, the data, looking at renewals. They are getting the insight, right? Because that has been really, really exciting for me. And the speed at which they're connecting, they're looking at development portals, connecting MCP, some of them doing it less than an hour. That really surprised me how these long tail customers are connecting to work. If you look at it, distribution model was different. You cannot touch all the long tail MSPs or VARs that easily. But this MCP and data and AI is a new relationship fabric. We are touching our partners, giving them value by AI and intelligence versus just calls and what you do. So that really surprised me how they're leveraging this to drive more value and the speed at which they are adopting it and going. So extremely, and it's across all. Like it's actually from subscription renewals to actually getting quotes and outcomes. That is extremely surprising.
I'm not sure what level of insight you have into what folks are connecting to once they've got things hooked up and are driving data through it. But I'm curious if you see a difference between what the big folks, with a bigger IT or data science team are doing with it versus what those smaller folks who are early adopters are hooking into and taking advantage of?
I think the smaller quotes has to generally initially starts with transactional, like quoting. They're looking at access to better reporting and business insights for their business. They're looking at, really having not to integrate with us and doing basically saving the OpEx in their business. And what I see is that their utilization of insights and intelligence is much more better because a smaller player will not have that intelligence that easily access to all this data and insights versus a bigger player will have their own systems, own IT, own AI to actually work on that. So they take time to integrate, go through their protocols and have their own intelligence. So I'm seeing the leverage of insights and intelligence much more in the smaller players to leverage how they can grow their.
For those smaller partners in particular, that that 10-person MSP, or that kind of profile that doesn't have a data science team, what's the on-ramp? How AI ready do they need to be, or is this an opportunity if they are even for those who are laggards to start their journey here?
It can be pretty fast. Everybody can have a quick, AI and an agent. There's so many, models and softwares available, but they may not have all the data to intelligence. They know their own context.
Mhm.
And then if they can plug into us, they can literally drive their business in a very different way to their systems. So that's the beauty of this, how fast they can get intelligence from us and work with us and then really get the insight to actually grow their business. It really is, changing the channel from really connecting, the system integration to, intelligence integration. And it's actually making Xvantage the intelligent operating layer, of the channel. And that's very important because, as we bring commerce, data, automation, AI into one connected experience, that is that operating layer. And if you look at it, the XI Hub and MCP server are the strategic components of a broader platform vision because it really creates differentiation from a traditional distribution model. And it really enforces our AI vision, but not about automation. It's about connecting in a different way, creating value in a different way. Automation is a foundation, but how do you democratize enterprise AI in the channel in a way that is useful and value creating for our partners that they really get value from us? And that's what is the change of mindset that I am seeing with this, because I truly think, Robert, the future of distribution is not just moving products. It's about connecting intelligence across the entire technology value chain ecosystem. And the XI Hub and MCP server is really making part of that future available today to interact with us in a very different way.
Another shift that you've talked about a lot in the role of distribution is the move from sell in to sell with. With XI Hub, it feels like you're kind of building the plumbing to sell with partners by putting your data inside their tools. Curious how you see this changing the role of the Ingram associate, the account rep. Is if AI is doing the quoting, the intelligent, how does the human role shift?
There's always a human role because all these integrations help us to scale and open more opportunities. So humans are more important two ways. One, they are training the algorithms to make it better, and they are training our intelligence to make intelligence much more better every day. The other thing is that now they can focus on being more proactive than reactive. They are focusing on the high value, high complex solutioning, doing that together with the customers where they need to be versus really focusing on basic operations on doing that. So they are really, it prioritizes the role that need to be. And obviously, you're focusing on exceptions versus just transactional connectivity, right? So yes, the agents are connecting customers, but if they still want to have a solutioning or a strategic direction or a business plan discussion, that's where our sales team can spend more time with versus really fulfilling and doing that. That's where I see the direction changing.
Yeah, I've heard you talk often about the idea of mindset over skill set, and you touched on the mindset that you see building in the channel. If a partner wants to capture the sort of AI revenue intelligence opportunity, what's sort of the one big mindset shift rather, that they need to make that happen right now?
Change the mindset from trying to be too closed and how general integration works. Think big and act small. Focus on the 60% chance to succeed versus that 40% chance to fail. Focus on being imperfectly perfect versus perfectly perfect, and really focus on the outcome and how you can iterate every day with a little more better results. So AI is not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But the interaction with AI every day will make it a little better. That's the mindset you need to work with it, because it's all about context setting. The more you can set the context with AI, with your business, the more intelligence you will get. The more intelligence you get, the more you can grow your business. Because remember what I said, data helps you run your business, but intelligence will help you, grow your business. So we need our partners to move from instinct to intelligence.
Looking at the rest of the year, what do you see as the next big milestones for Xvantage? I'm just curious if there's a feature or capability coming up that you'll think will be the next XI Hub moment for the fall and beyond.
The next hub moment for Xvantage will be every day how you can improve the intelligence better to drive outcomes for our partners. So that's what I feel. I think we'll always build amazing features, but I don't want to just keep on building features. Features will be there to make the intelligence better. I'm really looking forward to how we can drive more on intelligent operations to drive better outcomes for the company, which can help our partners better to grow. Those are the metrics I want to show more, how the intelligence is driving better operations for our vendors and for our partners. And feature roadmap will always be there, but I want to celebrate intelligently operating this channel and get us towards a vision about becoming the intelligent operating system of the tech ecosystem.
So the features underneath kind of flow into that and build that story.
Yeah. Because we are moving from a tool to an intelligence layer. We are moving from building a platform for distribution versus a platform company that does distribution market too.
All right. Last one for me. If I'm a partner who hasn't yet looked at the Xvantage developer portal or XI Hub, where do I start?
Well, you can Google and get the Xvantage developer portal and figure out where they are, or talk to your account manager, talk to your sales team and say how I can connect to them. Some of them are figuring it out information on their own. And if not, just reach out to us. We are there to help. If something doesn't work, let us know. Nothing is always perfect, but let's work together to really transform this industry.
And in terms of likely or best practice first steps?
Well, it's basically, if you want to just connect MCP, get the directions from developer portal, or talk to your account manager who can get you a technical person to help you set up. But most of the partners are doing it on their own, and it's pretty easy. But if not, we are there to help.
All right. Brilliant. I appreciate your taking the time to walk us through this and look forward to seeing what comes next from the Xvantage team.
Absolutely, Robert. Thank you so much.
There you have it, Sanjib Sahoo from Ingram Micro. I'd like to thank Sanjib for his time. It's not often you get a peek under the hood of a platform handling 4 petabytes of data to see exactly how it's changing the day-to-day life of the partner. The big takeaway for me was the 4x metric. The AI-driven insights are converting at 4 times the rate of traditional sales motions. For the MSP, the message is clear. The long tail isn't being left behind here. In fact, if you don't have a massive IT budget, the MCP server might be your fastest way to operationalize AI without a developer team. I'd like to thank you for listening. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, most major directories. If you like what you're hearing, rating a review goes a long way. And of course, follow or subscribe, please. Until next time, I'm Robert for channelbuzz.ca, and I'll see you in the channel.